Hello and welcome to the Node.js Community Foundation Technical Steering Committee for November 22nd, 2017. Sorry for the late start. We just wanted to make sure we could get a recording, so we switched over to a Hangout. We'll follow our standard agenda for today. So starting with announcements. Does anybody have any announcements today? No? Okay. If there aren't any announcements, we'll move on to the issues that were tagged with TSC agenda across the repos. The first one is enable explicit.m.js intent-free SM. Just going to open that up. I'm going to see who put that, see if we can figure out who put that on the agenda.
Rich had added it originally, and then James put it back on because there was more discussion.
Okay, so I don't know, Rich, if you have context for us there. I know you don't have a microphone. We can read the chat here. So I'll just read what Rich is relaying to us. Smiles putting together a doc, and so we don't need to actually discuss it today, but I guess we'll leave it on the agenda to discuss once that doc is ready. Sorry. Okay, so the next issue is our standing issue to go through the strategic initiatives. And then the other one is to register specific MIME types. So maybe let's do that one first and come back to the strategic initiative. So register node specific MIME types is number 371. Taking a quick look to see who put that on the agenda. That was Miles who added this. Does anybody else have the context as to why it's on the TSC agenda?
I thought there was sort of a vote on the issue tracker and we had a majority. Did I miscount?
Is that in that issue? I don't see any objections.
Yeah, and I think we had enough plus ones that wanted to move forward.
So let's see here. There was a comment that certain requests have been denied.
Oh, okay.
But actually, that was after it was put on the agenda, I think.
No, the denied was 16 days ago, and then a week ago, Miles put it on.
Right. So maybe that was why that he, yeah, no, you're right. It was done afterwards. So I guess maybe we need some discussion around options, but I think we need Miles for some context there. Maybe I'll add a comment saying, Miles, in the last TSC meeting, we were not sure what the question was for the TSC. I'm just typing a comment into the issue asking that he add some context as to what the question is for the TSC. Okay, so let's move on to the next issue, which is our standing issue on the strategic initiative. So I'm just going to open that up. It's number 423, and it has the link. So I guess we'll just go through the ones that people we have here present. The first one on the list seems to be NAPI, which is the one that I'm champion for. So the update there is we're working, our current milestone that we're working on is focused on burning down the issues in the Node repo and the add-on repo that have been raised by end users, as well as a push on documentation. We've had 3 people volunteer to get involved in the documentation, so there's quite a bit of activity on that front. And then the main strategic thing that we're focused on is, figuring out how we achieve the what we need in terms of being able to exit experimental and go into just regular supported mode. That seems to be we have a bit of a chicken and the egg problem where, a lot of module owners don't necessarily want to use something until it's actually real. But we need to find a couple of ones that we can use to prove it out. So that's really where our focus is. And we're putting together a plan, which is going to be discussed in this week's Thursday meeting for how we get there and then go from there. So maybe next week I can give a bit more details on what that plan is. Going down the list, I'm looking to see, so moderation. Rich, do you have an update on that front? Oh, I see. He's already got it in the chat, so nothing to report on that front. On the onboarding front, we have a new collaborator, Guy Bedford, and there are a bunch of independent code and learns this week in Taiwan, Japan, and India and France. Oh, okay. Joey has an update for us on error messages. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I've been trying to port these errors from the C++ land to JavaScript, and I noticed that there are a lot of errors, like 100 of errors still in the C++ land, and if I want to port them over to JS, then I would need to replace the checks in the C++ land to checks to assertions. This could probably introduce some compatibility issues if people are using process.binding. And like previously, there will be errors and now there will be assertions. So I'm wondering if that's okay.
So why do you need to add an assertion as opposed to an error? Is it just the pattern that's been set up, or is it a specific?
Yes. So previously, like if someone passing an argument that's of the wrong type, then the C++ layer will throw an error. Now, if I want to port them over to the JS land, then the actual errors will be thrown there. And in the C++ land, we usually just replace that with assertions.
Okay.
So
I guess I'm understanding is that it's that the exception would be checked in JavaScript. So,
yes,
but
so
for
the
added,
actual,
yeah.
so like normal users should not use process bindings. So if they go with the JavaScript API, they'll get decent errors. But if there is someone using the process binding and they've been using it in the wrong way, then it will like raise assertions now.
Right.
I'm wondering if that's okay. If that's not okay, then we cannot actually migrate any errors thrown in C++ land to like without like porting the new error messaging machinery back into C++, because right now the error code, the permanent error codes are only implemented in JavaScript, like in internal errors.js.
Right. I had a discussion with James because, like, for NAPI, I'd created C functions that threw the exceptions with the error code. And so it's certainly possible to do it there. It's just that I think his suggestion was it was better to move them over to the JavaScript side because it's easier to deal with them there.
Yeah. So
but I guess
maybe I'll create an issue about how to handle this. Like, should we just port them over to JavaScript or? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's it's a good idea to open the issue.
Yeah.
I guess one of my key, in my mind, one of the key questions would be if those assertions, how many people would those assertions potentially affect? Like if we had an idea of how many people use the bindings versus, we expect most people to just be using them through JavaScript, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'll create an issue later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, and just as an aside, I do have somebody else who works with me that is going to start to get involved in that as well. So it would be good to figure out what the pattern is. Okay. Let's see, getting back to the list. So that's error messages. Rich already gave us an update on moderation. V8 currency. Michael, any updates on that front? If you're talking, Michael, you're on mute. Okay. Michael tells us through chat that there's nothing to update on that front. And I think that's the end of our current list of initiatives. Anything else people have on that front that they'd like to bring up or discuss? No. Okay. Any other business? Otherwise, I guess we can move to Q&A. So if people are watching, we have 11 viewers. You can either enter a question in the original issue for the meeting or in the IRC. We'll just give people a couple minutes. I don't see any questions so far. Okay, well, I don't see any questions either way, so I think that's our meeting for today. Thank you for everybody who took the time to come out and watch or participate, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Thanks.